Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scribo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. I'm going to be doing the astrology of the coming 2 weeks, I believe. So it'll be from September 18th to September 30th. And we can get started. So let me pull up my all right. The astrology. Let's pull it up and let's start here. Excuse me, here and do here. Okay, so we start with today. Actually, today is September 18th, Sunday, and we have an opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. This is actually the second opposition of Mercury and Jupiter of 3 that we're going to have, and the reason for that is because Mercury, after its initial conjunction, opposition, sorry, it went retrograde. So it's going back over that place. So something was brought to our attention on the first one was 2nd of September. So something was brought to our attention on 2nd of September. We're going over that place again now on the 18th. And so there is an awareness and an opening up of information, that normally would last a couple of days, but because of the retrograde period of Mercury in Libra, right, sort of renegotiating contracts, and then moving back into the end of Virgo. We also have to redo something that was redone in a way. Virgo is a sign associated with making adjustments, and so another adjustment needs to be made. So there's still we're going back and forth. I feel like any forward progress that we have right now needs to be tempered with not getting too excited about it, because we're still in the process of back and forth, and I don't think that's really going to shift energetically until maybe March of next year. But still, the information's coming in, and so we need to be aware. We need to keep our ears open because there is information coming in. The third one will happen on the 12th of October. So pretty much all of September is this need to be aware of the information that's coming into you, that Jupiter Mercury opposition, because Mercury and Jupiter rule two of the axes, that axis, and it would be the Pisces Virgo axis and the Sag Gemini axis. So that axis, of course, is getting activated, and all this information is shaking out. And we have to remember that Trump is on that axis, right? His sun and moon, and he's an eclipse baby. So he is in his nature shaking the tree, so to speak. And for us to become aware of some things that either we didn't want to look at or that needed to be seen. I don't know. All right. So we also have today a waning trine between the Sun and Pluto. What are we learning about power? Right. That's the question we ask with this trine. The Sun has moved 240 degrees away from Pluto. That is the cusp of Sagittarius. What have we learned? And how are we going to use that information so that we get along with other people and we can work together? Because that's really what it comes down to, guys. We have to start working together to make our lives better, and have it be less about these, kind of morons who are, giving them your energy, whether it be the ex-president or DeSantis or whatever. I mean, it's okay to be aware and kind of want to know, but you don't want to obsess about, you don't want to give them your energy. So just remember that. Okay, on Tuesday, the 20th, of course, something happens on Monday, but there are no major aspects. I only go over the major aspects generally. So on Tuesday, the 20th, we have Venus making a waxing trine to Uranus. This is the transiting side of this aspect mainly governs over one's yearnings for thrills and adventure. So we're feeling a little frisky on the 20th. We're feeling like we might want to take a chance on something. Just be aware that with Mercury retrograde, especially, I think we have to be open, but still a little bit more cautious than maybe we usually are. So just know that. We also have, and this is also a reason for caution, Venus making an inconjunct to Saturn on the very same day. So Venus is getting this like this change, electrical energy from Uranus, and Saturn is kind of throwing some banana peels in front of Venus. So we have to be aware that um, it's a trap. It's a trap. No, I'm sorry. That was that from one of the Star Wars? I'm so sorry. It just sort of came into my head, so I said it. Anyway, you just have to be more careful with the Venus in conjunct Saturn. The need of emotional adjustments around your sense of self-worth. I go a little bit further into it when we look at the chart. On the 22nd, which is a Thursday, we have the sun move into Libra. So we know that that is the first day of fall in the Northern Hemisphere and the first day of spring in the Southern Hemisphere. So happy spring, everyone down under. Sorry, I'm sorry that I didn't make fun, really. So this is a time of balance, right? The light and the dark are equal. And now in the Northern Hemisphere, the darkness grows, and in the Southern Hemisphere, the light grows. And so here up in the Northern Hemisphere, it's time when we become more introspective and in a way more reliant on others, because it's easy to forge your own path when it's warm and there's, apples on the trees, and, you're, you don't have to wear as many clothes. There's more freedom really in the summer, except that it was so hot. You didn't want to be out there, but that's another story. But now it's about sort of, putting on your fluffy socks and get your firewood ready. And, so it's a natural time to look within, So, and it's a natural time of sort of hibernation, and maybe even eating things that are close to the earth, like more root vegetables and things like that. Things that used to survive the winter, right? And so we have the sun ingressing into Libra. And then on the next day, we have the sun make its inferior conjunction to Mercury at 1 degree of Libra. So the Mercury retrograde cycle, the highlight of the Mercury retrograde cycle is always when the sun and Mercury make the inferior conjunction. I have a slide for that to explain what that is. And so it's an important time. It's the message, really. It's the message. And the message is at 1 degree of Libra, which is where the sun just moved in. And then Mercury retrogrades on the same day back into Virgo to get some good ideas about how exactly we are going to be the best, the most balanced Libra people we can be as we face a pretty uncertain future. On the 24th, which is a Saturday, we have Venus making an opposition to Neptune. This aspect can cause problems with relationships and finances because it's difficult to see things clearly. And yet, it may be the best chance to see things clearly as well, as, hopefully some distance gives us more perspective. It's about our ideals of love, our ideals of, you know, what we want, our resources, the optimistic side of our resources, perhaps. So let's take a look at the charts, and then we'll go to the next week and look at the charts for that. So here we have the two oppositions so far of Jupiter and Mercury. The first one occurred on the 2nd of September, and Jupiter, where's my little pointer? Goodness, I can't find my pointer. Oh, there it is. I couldn't find my pointer. Jupiter is here at 7 degrees, 639 of Aries, and then there's Mercury over here opposite that, right? This is actually a chart for the US, Washington, D.C., and so this is illumination around secrets, maybe military secrets, hidden enemies here, right? Maybe even an understanding of a certain ex-president's culpability when it came to helping out another country whose leader is known for his throwing people out the window. Was that circuitous enough? For entertainment purposes only. So we have here in Mercury at 7 of Libra, a woman feeding chickens and protecting them from the hawks. That's where Mercury is, Mercury in Libra in the 6th house of the military. Jupiter in Aries, a man succeeds in expressing himself simultaneously in two realms. Expressing himself in two realms. That Jupiter in Aries in the 12th house. Now we have another opposition, right? And this is the 18th, I believe, right? The 18th. We have Mercury at 5 of Libra. Remember, it went retrograde, so it's further back now. A man revealing to his students the foundation of inner knowledge upon which a new world could be built. That's Mercury. That's Mercury and Mercury retrograde with this symbol. A man revealing to his students the foundation of an inner knowledge upon which a new world could be built. Inner knowledge. So this is an important step, an important time of introspection. Opposite Jupiter at 5 degrees of Aries, a triangle with wings, the capacity for self-transcendence. So this is a very, very powerful time where we have the capacity to utilize newly realized abilities that many of us have, that we didn't know what it was, or maybe we had it our whole lives and nobody had a reason for the way we were. And you're finding out that maybe you're more intuitive than you thought, you know. Maybe you're starting to trust your own instincts and your own intuitions about things. And you don't need somebody else to tell you what you should or should not be doing. You can decide for yourself. Right? So these are all things that are up for us to see, opposition, to become aware of. It's really the opposition. It's like the extremes. It's like the extreme rule of law and the extreme will. Jupiter in Aries and Mercury in Libra, the law, right? We're seeing I think what we're seeing is we're seeing the limitations of the law, and that it's not really just about law, but it has to be about heart. It's not just about the mental part of it, but the feeling part of it. And the feeling part of it is wounded, and we need to come to terms with our own internal woundedness. And as we do that, and as we heal that, the world is healed. We're part of this. We're part. It's not being done to us. It's not being done despite us. It is us, right? So we have on the 20th of September, we have a waxing trine between Venus and Uranus. Venus waxing trine to Uranus, creative self-expression, a creative self-expressive trine, opening us up to new relationships and values. It's exciting time, exciting time. Uranus is being open to new ideas with Uranus is no guarantee that the idea is going to work, but it is a guarantee that the idea is going to change you and change your life. And there's a lot of this trine between Uranus and Venus is like sticking your finger in a change plug. You know, you're changed. That's the energy. That's the flow of energy. If you happen to have planets around 18, 19, 20 degrees of any of the signs, you know, you're getting activated by this as well. So it's a pretty jazzy, pizzazzy time with this aspect. This cycle began with a Venus-Uranus conjunction. That one occurred on June 11th, 2022 at 17 of Taurus, the symbolic battle between swords and torches. Refusing to depend upon the past, the seeker turns warrior, fighting anew the eternal great war. The torches are symbolic of the spirit of independence, the spirit to be yourself. And the swords symbolize the law, who you're allowed, what you're allowed to do. But the torches went out in the story. The spirit, because without the spirit, it starts with fire, see, elementally. And fire and water come together to create movement, which is air, which then condenses into earth. So the spirit has the truth in it, right? If we look at, now that was the initial conjunction. So this is the expression. This is the self-expression of that initial battle between swords and torches. Venus is now at 19 degrees of Virgo, a swimming race. The stimulation that comes from a group effort toward a spiritual goal. That's what Cash Peters and Lena are talking about. Oh, thank you. I really needed that, thank you. And then we have Uranus at our favorite degree, right? It's been at 19 degrees for how long? A new continent rising out of the ocean. Surge of new potentiality after the crisis. So we're going in the right direction, guys. We're going in the right direction. Now, also, remember on that day, we also have Saturn putting his 2 cents in on Venus. Uranus is trying to sweep her off her feet. Let's do something new, something change. And Saturn is going, hello, not so fast. There are a couple of details you have to deal with first. So we have the inconjunct between Venus and Saturn. And in America's chart, because this is America, it could be, you know, people feeling the pinch and feeling like we're putting more effort into places far away than we are putting effort into where we are. There could be some of that that comes up. I'm not saying that that's really what's happening. I think a lot of help is going a lot of places right now. So it's not, the flow is to helping people. How that's going to be financed is another story. It always is. You have difficulty seeing what you are actually responsible for in relationships. So there's still renegotiation of your relationships. We still have Mercury here retrograde in Libra. So we still, our relationships are still being renegotiated, actually. And so are you giving too much to a relationship, or you're not giving enough? What is your responsibility and what isn't it? Are you getting involved in something that is maybe not even your responsibility, but you're taking it on because you're used to having to do that with everything in your life, and you finally get an opportunity not to choose it, and you choose it? Do you need to take more responsibility towards working toward responsibility and working toward benefiting the society, or less responsibility in order to give yourself the space enough to be social? Emotional choices, emotional choices. And here we have the ingress of the sun into Libra. It's right here, right on the descendant line. This is not a chart for the US. I just wanted to point out the fact that at sunset, the sun is at this point. When it moves into Aries, it's here, and now it moves into Libra. And so it's balancing on the other side of the first day of spring. And this is a harvest time, so we get to see at this time what we've harvested from the equinox. And in the case of the northern hemisphere, spring to fall, or in the southern hemisphere, fall to spring. What are we aware of? We have Mercury right next to it. Why? Because Mercury is about to make its inferior conjunction to the sun on the next day. So Mercury is now moving closer to the sun. So the sun comes into Libra and says, let's illuminate. We have to illuminate relationships and the need to talk and have diplomacy and be open, right? And then Mercury comes along the next day and makes its inferior conjunction, which we'll look at in a separate video. The sun in Libra, at 1 degree of Libra, a collection of perfect specimens of many biological forms. Butterfly displays the beauty of its wings, its body impaled by a fine dart. The immortal archetypical reality that a perfected and dedicated life reveals. It really speaks of that perfection is but a moment in time, and it passes. And it's that moment of balance when the sun moves into Libra. 2 opportunities. And it's important that we foster balance at this time. Maybe you want to take that day for something special, where you take time to do some sort of tree pose or yoga pose, or maybe have a yoga class, or meditate, or just be still and follow your breath, the in and out, like the change of seasons. The ruler of Libra is Venus, but Venus is not in Libra. Venus is still in Virgo. So Venus in Virgo, the problem solver, has something to offer. And 23 degrees of Virgo, where Venus is, says a lion tamer displays his skill and character. The need to tame one's vital energies in order to fulfill one's destiny. It's time to get moving. It's time to start doing the things that are going to help you move through this period. It's about lightening up It's about letting go. And it's about really sort of digging in and really listening to your higher self. Libra is a symbol of the other. And the other, there's the self or the higher self. And then there's the other, which is the higher self. The other is the part of us that is still in spirit, our soulmate, as it were, of us, of our who we are as spiritual beings. Keywords: resoluteness and patience. So it's about doing what you need to do, get things balanced in your life. If you're working too much, you need to have fun. If you're having too much fun and not being responsible, you need to be more responsible. Where you're not being responsible and you know you have to be responsible. But then spend the rest of the time doing things that balance that out. It's about balance. And we're coming into a very interesting, to quote like the Chinese curse, time. We need to foster balance. Absolutely. Okay, here is the next day, the inferior conjunction of Mercury. And here we see it's at 0 degrees, 14 minutes. So just inside, there's been a lot of activity at the world points. This is one of them. This is an important one where we're listening to our own higher self to know how to move forward. And there was an eclipse at 1 degree of Cancer back in 2020 on the so many things happened in 2020, sort of went past, but it was probably the most significant thing to happen in 2020. And we had the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in 2020. So that's how important that eclipse was. And here we see an inferior conjunction of Mercury. So this is the sun in the middle. This is Mercury. And Mercury can only be seen from Earth in a certain sort of arc within 28 degrees either side, I believe. Or it may not be either side. I'll have to check that. But when Mercury is retrograde, it's closest to the Earth. And so when we have Mercury, and when we have the sun and Mercury conjunct, and Mercury's retrograde, this is the closest that Mercury gets to the Earth. And so this is when we need to go within to quiet the noise so that we can get to the core and listen to our own inner self, as Mercury is on the inside, right here. And then it'll continue to go around. We won't see it because it's behind the rays of the sun, but eventually it comes to its superior conjunction. And that almost works like an opposition. But the Mercury and from our position and the sun can never be more than 28 degrees away from each other. So, but this is a time, and it's at that 1st degree of Libra. You see this little butterfly? We know the 1st degree of Libra is active. Okay. So we also have the Venus opposition, right, to Neptune. And here it is. It's right here. And this is actually the initial conjunction of that. At 25 degrees, a religious organization succeeds in overcoming the corrupting influence of perverted practices and materialized ideals. That would be nice if the evangelicals dumped Trump. That might show that they've succeeded. Sorry. But now we have the opposition, the point of awareness with this. Remember, Venus is our values. And Neptune is idealization. and our ideal values. This can also be an awareness of the ideal world that you have an option to work towards. Doesn't mean that it's not possible, but we can't do it by ourselves. We need to cooperate with others, because the next part of this synodic cycle of Venus and Neptune is, now that Venus has had all these spiritual experiences sort of in the netherworld, it gets to come up and share with what it learned from Neptune. So the opposition, Venus at 24 Virgo, Mary and her little lamb, the need to bring a vibrant and pure simplicity at the core of one's being as one meets many tests of existence. This is the become like a child. And what are children? Children are joy filled. So whatever brings you joy, this is going to help you to get the most out of this aspect. Neptune at 24 degrees of Pisces, on a small island surrounded by a vast expanse of the sea, people are seen living in close interaction. In order for us to all live together in harmony, we have to keep it simple. We have to keep it simple. And part of that keeping it simple is knowing healthy boundaries. And that includes countries like Russia, who feels like they had the right to go into the Ukraine for whatever cockeyed reason they said, right? Or our personal boundaries. Giving, giving. Okay, next week, September 25th through the 30th, to the end of the month. And we start this with a new moon in Libra. Now, this new moon in Libra is amazing, and we're going to get into it deeply. So I'm going to get on to the next thing until we get to the actual chart and the symbology and the numbers. It sort of all comes together again. So on Monday, the 26th, we have Venus making a waning trine to Pluto, Venus in Virgo, Pluto in Capricorn. Lessons learned through transformations of relationship to self and others. The waning trine is the Sagittarius trine. What have we learned from our experience with others through our lives, through the challenges we faced most recently, or the biggest challenges you've ever faced in your life? What have you learned through your transformational process, which is usually like not the most pleasant process, but there's always a learning, and this is about speaking of that, telling the story of healing. We also have the energy of the feminine, Venus, feminine wisdom around power, Pluto. What is real power? Real power is love. Feeling wanted, feeling like somebody cares about you. Mercury conjunct Venus at 27 degrees of Virgo, also happening on the 26th. And the sun opposing Jupiter. Remember, Mercury just opposed Jupiter. Now the sun is going to come and oppose Jupiter, which brings more illumination to that Mercury-Jupiter axis, certainly. It brings the sun there. So the information that has been coming out, we might actually get to see some of it. We might get a clue as to what, or maybe all of it comes out, but something big is coming out on the 26th. It could be Fonnie Willis, I don't know, because we do have that Venus Pluto. On Tuesday, we have Mercury making a waning trine to Pluto. This waning trine again is expressing what you've learned, what your mind, you've learned about power, about responsibility. Pluto is in Capricorn. The responsibility that it takes, the amount of power it takes to maintain something. On Wednesday, the 28th, Mars has a waxing trine to Saturn. And this is the first of 3 waxing trines to Saturn because Mars is going to go retrograde in October. And so it doesn't actually get out of Gemini till March. And then Thursday, the 29th, Venus ingresses into the sign of one of the signs of her rulership, Libra, which is very powerful for Venus and very good for diplomacy. Very good for diplomacy. So hopefully we'll see some diplomacy in the Ukraine at this time. All right, let's look at the charts. Here's the new moon chart, 3 degrees of Libra. Check this out, right? So this is for the US. Sorry for everybody else. We have this new moon in the US in that 7th house, which is the Libra house. It is about diplomacy. It's about coming to some sort of agreement. Perhaps we'll hear something about the Iran nuclear deal. Iran is a Aries country, so perhaps. Because that's still going on, just because we're not paying attention. We're still doing stuff. We're trying to, I guess. I hope anyway. The ruler of this new moon in Libra is Venus, here at 26 degrees of Virgo, trine Pluto. This is very powerful. Very powerful energy. If you look at the Sabian symbol for 3 degrees of Libra, the dawn of a new day reveals everything changed. Haven't we been going through everything changing? What about the Queen? What about Putin? He's probably not going to be much longer, certainly as a world leader, even maybe not as he'll be in spirit, we don't know, for entertainment purposes only. But he lives a dangerous life, and he lives he leads a dangerous country to be a politician. A lot of it because of stuff he's done, but also because, kind of czarish over there when it comes to power and all that stuff. Those people don't want to let go. And everybody else suffers, right? The ever-present possibility of beginning again on a new foundation of values. Keyword, innovator. This is your new moon. This is my new moon. Everything has changed, right? What are you going to innovate? How innovative is your life going to be? It's going to be a life you probably never imagined you'd have, but you're going to have it. And if you visualize it and see it and work towards it, you have a much better chance of getting exactly what you want. So we have to be very aware of where we're putting our energy and our focus. Venus, the ruler of Libra, at 26 of Virgo, a boy with a censer serves a priest near the altar. First stage of actual participation in the great ritual of planetary evolution. You are playing your part in the evolution of the planet. Guys, that's what you're doing. It's interesting that the symbol is a boy with a censer. So you're thinking of, an altar boy, right? And if we go over here, the symbol for the day is the Page of Cups. Kind of looks like an altar boy's. That would be that age, right? And here we have the cup of wisdom, the fish, the salmon, messages from spirit, good news, maybe. News that's going to make your heart expand. It's it's cups, right? It's feelings. And then, of course, we're dealing with Libra, which is balance. Here's the Jupiter new moon opposition, right? Jupiter is still opposing. It's actually maybe still opposing Mercury, which has moved back into Capricorn, to Virgo, but it's certainly opposing this new moon in Libra. This is powerful stuff, guys. This is powerful stuff. All right. So this is the trine of Pluto and Venus, the trine of woman's wisdom as she faces issues of control. This cycle began when Venus conjoined Pluto 3 times in Capricorn. Venus was retrograde in Capricorn. Capricorn is the patriarchy. Capricorn is the not wanting women to have control over their own bodies. And Venus had 3 conjunctions with Pluto. 2 of them last year, 12/11, 2021, at 26 degrees of Capricorn. That's a 28-1 vibration. That's in Chokmah. It's the 2 of Wands. The 2 of Wands. And then 12/25, Christmas Day, 2021, 42/6, that's the 2 of Cups. That also occurred at 26 degrees of Capricorn. And then the last one was when Venus was over with her retrograde cycle on 3/3. 3/3 is a portal. It's a 12/3 vibration when you add the universal year at 28 degrees of Capricorn, which is the same degree as the United States Pluto. And so it's almost as though Roe versus Wade was the overturning of that was the gauntlet. The gauntlet has been dropped. And it's time for the feminine to come and reclaim her power. And this trine speaks of that, but not just speaks of it in a way that we can learn from it, that's instructive, that can help us build the society that we want to build. When there's a problem, you have to fight the problem, but you also have to adapt to the problem. And it's the adaptation, I think, to the problem that's going to be part of the solution to this problem. And then ultimately the codification of a woman's right to choose to do with her body what she wishes, whether it's privacy or what it's body autonomy. It's body autonomy. Mercury conjunct Venus at 27 degrees of Virgo. A group of aristocratic ladies meet ceremonially at a court function. The ability to carry on a revered tradition in order to perpetuate cultural standards of excellence. Keyword here is the undisciplined need to learn refinement. Need to learn refinement. This is Venus and Mercury retrograde coming together under the rays of the sun. So kind of in secret. In secret. It's interesting because I was just watching CNN or MSNBC just briefly, and they were talking about the Queen because she's, the funeral now, and she's in state, and all the people are there, and they were saying how Princess Kate, which is Kate Middleton, she'll always be Kate Middleton to me, or Princess Catherine, I guess, spoke with Zelensky's wife, and I just got like just a feeling like, oh, wow, yeah, that's good. Like there's an opening there. There's an opening there, and not for a reason of, we're going to help you, because they're not supposed to talk about politics, in that situation. But just a gesture to say, I'm with you, or I'm lining my energy with yours, right? And it's the feminine, and it's because it's the feminine, it struck me as really a good thing. So maybe that has something to do with it, that refinement, sort of under the shadow, not really seeing it because it's under the rays of the sun, which just means it's so close to the sun that you couldn't see the conjunction in the sky, because the sun isn't, because the sun's out when it happens, kind of idea. The sun opposing Jupiter, this is a point of awareness of the cycle that began when the sun and Jupiter came together. That happened on March 5th, 2022. That was a 14-5 vibration, temperance card. So it was healing, pathway to healing, a pathway, the path of the mystic, the path of temperance. After an officer instructing his men before a simulated assault under barrage of live shells. This was right around the time of the beginning of the Ukrainian war. We remember what that felt like, right? We remember feeling like stunned and like we have to, what? Right? We have to help these people, like, and we couldn't help them that quickly. So the thing that protected them was the light for those who made it through, or even maybe those who didn't make it through, because everybody plays a role in some way, and luckily we get other opportunities to have lives that don't include getting blown up, right? So we have a point of awareness in the cycle that began with that conjunction at 15 of Pisces. The officer instructing. This is what you have to do when it's really bad, and it's already really bad, right? So now we have the opposition, the halfway point. What have we learned? What this is now, it's out in the public. Now it's up to us, the public, working together with this information to make it count. Jupiter, 4 of Aries, two lovers strolling on a secluded walk, the progressive polarization of energies needed for fulfilling one's life function. This is about the fact that we walk the path, we walk a path of duality, opposing Venus in Libra, a campfire, a group of young people sit in spiritual communion. So we have this world of duality, and then we have children in a campfire, at a campfire, sitting in spiritual communion. The fire is the fire of spirit. The campfire is the wild places. This is another, even though we're not in Sagittarius and Gemini, this is a nod to that duality, and then the closeness of sitting close to the fire, keep sitting close to your spiritual principles and to that which warms your heart as a protection, right? The necessity to unite with kindred spirits as one enters unbeaten paths, illumined by still insecure light of the dawning intuition of new values. So we're just at the beginning of this journey. And just like anything, soon when you're in a new situation, it's the most scary, and it's the nicest that you're not in a dark room. So shine your light, because you're not just shining it for yourself, you're shining it for everyone around you, whether they know it or not, whether they appreciate it or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're doing it, because we need the light to find our way. It's evolution. It's going to go in that direction eventually, but why not sooner than later? Why not get past the fear and move into the possibilities of what a future, not devoid of fear, but with less fear and more love and more help and people helping people. How nice would that be? On the 27th, we have Mercury making a waning trine to Pluto. This is the second of 3. The first one occurred on 8/22. 22 is a master number, 2022. The second one, of course, is happening on the 27th, which is the day we're talking about. And then the last one is going to be happening on the 6th of October. That one is a 22/4 vibration, the 6th of October. That's a master spiritual builder. So the first one, we have the 36/9. This is the 10 of Wands. This is the 2 of Cups, right? 2 of Cups, standing, drinking from each other's cup, but not a single cup. You each have your own cup. And then the master spiritual builder, the Fool. What kind of fool am I? So this, we have Mercury at that group of aristocratic ladies, right? The need to perpetuate cultural standards of excellence. It's true, we do need to have standards of excellence. But it doesn't exclude, like, it's not, it can't be exclusionary, right? It has to be kind of available for people to know, to see. Pluto at 27 of Capricorn, pilgrims climbing the steps leading to a mountain shrine, the ascent of the individualized consciousness to the highest realizations reached by the spiritual leaders of the culture. So this is about growing spiritually. Very, very powerful time of the penetrating mind. Okay, this is also the United States Pluto is at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Okay, so if you're born in 1961, you have Saturn around that degree. So this is a powerful time. If you were born in the 80s, is it? If you were born in, I think 93, maybe 94. It's on your Saturn, I think. I'd have to look. Sorry. Powerful time. Mars waxing trine to Saturn. This is good. This is interesting. Saturn is structure, Mars is action. There's going to be 3 of these because Mars is retrograde. So there's a structured action happening. And then it's going to move forward. Then it's going to move back, go over that point again. That's going to be a restructuring, going over having that second trine, and then I'll come back and have the third trine. This actually began at the Mars-Saturn conjunction on 4/4. 4/4 is a portal. Crisis, responsibility, 2022. At 23 degrees of Aquarius, a big bear sitting down, waving all its paws. The self-discipline which results from an intelligent development of individual faculties under proper training. This is, again, they're talking about training. They're talking about excellence. They're talking about, it is really live and let live. It is. I mean, it needs to kind of be live and let live, but we also need to have a sense of responsibility to our fellow man and to be our best selves and to do our best work in honor of that and in support of that. And that's what shining your light means. Saturn at 20 degrees of Aquarius, a large white dove bearing a message, the answer of spiritual agencies to thorough, sustained, and victorious individual efforts. Right? Saturn doesn't just hold back, but it rewards hard work. Where have you been working hard? Take those rewards, utilize those rewards, and figure out a plan forward. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some back and forth, and it's okay. That's trine Mars at 20 of Gemini. A modern cafeteria displays an abundance of food products of various regions, the assimilation of multifarious knowledge through the synthesizing power of the mind. An open mind, right? An open mind to see the differences in people and not be fearful, but to strive to understand them, right? This is the new world, guys. This is the world we have to select. We have to select this world, let me tell you. And then we have Venus moving into Libra to sort of round off the month. So Libra, Venus in Libra says, let's listen to one another. Let's discuss. Let's be kind and polite, Libra. Let's be reasonable, Libra. Let's be balanced and genteel, Libra. Let's not get all emotional about this, Libra. And see what needs to be, listen to each other. Listen. And in that listening, further renegotiation of relationships. And at the beginning of October, Mercury goes direct. So we can start to institute some of that. It's crazy times we're living in, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that gave you some insight that you needed to have. I guess that's what I want to say. As always, it's a wonderful to spend the time with you. I'm glad I got the whole month done, because I have busy weeks ahead, and sometimes it's hard to get all the information out in a timely manner. But now it's out, so you might have to go back to it, and if you want, and see. I'll separate the weeks out. I'll put a timestamp so you don't have to listen to the whole thing to get to that next week if you want to listen to it again or listen to it for the first time. But I can feel the shift. I can feel the change. Yeah, it feels good. I feel a good change. And I have a lot of faith for the world. I do, because I think most people want peace and harmony, and not war and destruction, right? We've had enough of it. I mean, it's not like we're bored, right? Let's start working together to create instead of working against each other to destroy. I don't know, the Sun in Libra sounds like a good time to do it, right? All right, guys, take care. Much love to you all. And if you'd like a reading with me, I do have availability. I'm actually very open for readings. So if you want one now's the time. It just would have to be before 7, because 7 p.m. I start my classes. So I'm not available in the evening, but I am available during the day. So you can just go on my website, select either a 90-minute, especially for your first timers, reading, or maybe an hour reading for those of you who just want sort of a review to your chart. And it'll come up and it'll give you options, and you can choose your time and your day. All right, guys, take care. Much love. Namaste.